This story commences outside a mansion in a garden where a lot of servants were there to celebrate the birthday of a little girl. Even though they all were greeting her happy birthday and were giving her presents, she was not looking happy at all. A maid comes and informs a man who was looking like the girl's bodyguard something on his ears. After watching that, the girl runs away and goes to a location and sits alone in a swing and was looking very sad. She might have heard what the maid told the guard. She was very sad that her parents could not be there with her even though it was her birthday. Then suddenly, a boy comes there and asks her if she was all right. The boy was also of the same age and was staring at her with curiosity. He had some flowers in his hand which he offers to her. He tells her that those flowers were for her mother and are very special for him. He embellishes it on her hair, and then after hearing a man calling his name, which was Ig, he leaves the scene. It was looking like he was also in some sort of hurry. The girl wanted to thank him for the flowers and thus chases behind him. After following him for a while, she sees that there was a funeral going on in the boy's house. A man who was looking like his father was holding a photo of a woman who was apparently the boy's mother, and the men were loading the coffin into the van. The boy was standing beside his father silently. The girl realizes that the mother was dead and her favorite flower was given to her by the boy whose name was Ig. In the next scene, we sees that now Ig was a grown-up teen and was getting annoyed by the numerous alarm that his father had sat to head up in the morning. He wakes up, makes some soup, and then goes to his father's room to wake him up. He shouts at him to make him wake up, but it was no use. He switches off the numerous alarms that his father had set back to back, and now was not waking up even after that. He was muttering about winning the Ilutagawa prize in his sleep, which actually was a prestigious prize to win for all the writers in Japan. Yes, he was a writer, but probably not that successful. Ig pities him for believing that he can win one, even though he had not sold a single book in his life. His father was asking his boss to give him more time as he has not written a single page in his sleep. Ig pities him that he was missing his deadlines even in his sleep. Then Ig wakes him up and tells him to not he was going to miss his interview for his new part-time job. Then his father gets up in a hurry and asks Ig in a hurry if he knows where his white shirt. He explains further that it was the one that a man was selling at a very cheap price, 3 for $10, but he could only afford one, so after pleading a lot he got one. And he also had no idea where his resume was, which he gets after getting fired from every part-time job. Ig was just annoyed by his activities. He tells him that he has already arranged everything in the table for him. His father checks, and there was indeed everything that he needed for his interview. His dad was touched that his son was so caring and wanted to give him a hug, but Ig was in no mood. He tells his father to just change and get to the interview quickly. They were poor due to all these activities of his father. Ig appreciated that his father raised his even after being a single parent, but still sometimes his activities were really annoying and out of the world for him. Then they both sits down to have breakfast. There was beans sprout miso again in the breakfast, which tells Ig that it was his speciality. Ig with a gloomy face replies that it was not his speciality or something, but rather it was the only thing that they could afford. Then his father spills his soup on his shirt by mistake. Ig gets pissed and tells him to take care as it was the only suit that he had. He grabs a cloth and cleans it. Then he checks the time and realizes that even he will be late for his school at that rate and tells his father to finish break fast and go to the interview and gets going before him. He tells his father to stop playing mobile games and start working. He prays in front of his mother's photo before leaving the house. When he gets out of the house, he sees an old woman trembling, and he goes to her and asks her if she was okay. The old lady tells him that she was good and thanks him for being concerned. Ig decides to lend her a hand and asks her where was she heading towards. The old lady tells him that he does not have to help her as she was going all the way to the train station. Ig still insists to help her. The old lady was glad to hear that. Ig was now confirmed that he was going to be late for school. But he still was not regretting his decision, as he remembers that his mother told him to always be kind towards others no matter what the cost is. She always told him to be kind and spread joy and happiness without expecting for anything in return. She told him that God might reward him with a nice little present if he does that then. Thus, IG always believed that he will keep doing the good work no matter what. Then, when he gets to the school, the teacher scolds him for arriving late again as always. IG tells him that he overslept again by mistake, but the teacher was not looking in a mood to take any kind of excuse. He tells IG that no matter how good his grades are, if he does not change his disordered lifestyle, then everything will be disordered in his life. IG tries to tell him that it was not his fault that time exactly, but the teacher tells him to stop making excuses. He tells IG that he understands that youth of that age usually face troubles going early to bed, but believes that it will all just go away once he experiences youth with a girl, and then laughs out loud. IG was not sure whether to laugh in that situation or not. Then the PE teacher tells him that doing sports in the morning will help to make him punctual and will improve his blood circulation, which in the end will make his pale face glow bright. IG tells him thank you and goes back to his desk. He knew that the teacher would forgive him if he actually tells him why he was so late, but he did not care about being praised, but rather he was just happy that he could help his old man and the unknown old lady and brought smiles in their faces. The class was over and all the students were talking about the mixer that was going to take place that day. All the students were talking about costly stuff which was all out of budget for IG. He envied them that they were living in a completely different world than him. Then suddenly one of his classmates, Shidru, shows up and asks IG if he was reading his anime books again. IG tells him that he was not reading any anime books, but rather a light novel which was completely different from manga. Shidru did not even hear him and tells him that he just broke up with his girlfriend recently. IG tells him that he was not going to listen to that crap from him again and starts reading his book again. Shidru tells him to not misunderstand things and makes him clear that it was him who got bored of his girlfriend and dumped and not the other way around. He tells IG that it was not that big of a problem for him as there were plenty of girls for him. He starts telling IG all of his love stories again as always. IG could not understand why he was so obsessed with telling his stories to him only. He had absolutely no interest in hearing something like that. Then Shidru tells him that he was going to go for Aoi next. This gets IG's attention. She was with her friends and was looking very happy. She was discussing about some beauty products with her friends. She was so much dazzling that it was blinding Shidru. He tells IG that her face was a total S, and she was such a young fine lady that she was perfect to be his girlfriend. She also had a good personality and was very smart, and also her grandfather was the president of the Jayagasaki Group, one of the largest conglomerates. IG tells him that he was not sure if it would work as their personalities were completely opposite to each other. Then he tells IG to mid his business and regrets talking to him. He tells him that he should not tell all that to an antisocial nerd who never had a girlfriend in his entire life. IG was wondering how was it his fault as he did not even ask him to tell all that. He knew that Aoi won't like a guy like Shidru. Then he notices that Aoi had put on lipstick that day. Aoi sees that he was looking at her and smiles. IG hides his face behind the book. A few days later, when IG was just returning from his school, he hears his father shouting like a maniac. He comes to IG and tells him that he has a very bad news. IG asks him if his new book was hitting record sales or something. His father tells him that it was impossible and tells him that there was something more important. IG asks him how was his job interview. His father replies that he failed the interview as always, but there was still something more important than that. IG asks his what could be more important than that as they were completely ran out of money and had no idea how to survive next. IG sees that there were women's shoes outside their home. Then he takes IG inside the house and IG was shocked when he sees Aoi sitting there inside the house. When she sees IG she becomes very happy and goes to IG and hugs him. IG's face was totally red, and he was also wondering why was she acting like that. She tells IG that she got ahead of herself and could not resist and got ahead of herself. She accepts that she should not act like that. Then she introduces herself properly as Jayagasaki Aoi and tells them that she will be IG's fiancée from there on. IG and his father both were shocked to hear that. His father asks IG in a panic to tell him when did he started going out with such a beauty and made her his fiancée. IG replies to him that he has no clue either about what was happening as he and Aoi were just classmates. He asks Aoi to explain what does she mean by that. Then Aoi asks IG to recall the time when he helped the old lady. She tells him that it was her grandmother. Her grandmother was the type of person who loves to do everything by herself and was doing the same that day as well, but then she failed to carry the weights and was struggling, but IG came on time and helped her without anything in return. She thanks IG for being so kind. IG was blushing and replies to her that he just did what seemed fit to him and nothing special. But Aoi tells him that it was not something that anyone would have done. She hugs IG again and tells him that he was the only one who did it. Then she continues the story and tells him that her grandmother saw him that he was wearing the same school uniform, so she realized that he was in the same school as her granddaughter. She was impressed that he helped her even though the school was in complete opposite side and it was already late. She told the whole thing to her grandfather, and he was impressed to her about such fine young gentlemen too. Then her grandfather wanted to express his gratitude towards him, so he used his power to find out more about him. And then they found out that he was coincidentally one of his classmates, and also they discovered that he was the grandson of the chairman of the dakedo company, which was a large company with just as much influence as the Jayagasaki group. And since their company and his grandfather's company recently had discussed about a possible business partnership, thus they were thinking that it was the perfect time to make a marriage offer that would further improve relations between the two companies. It was such a coincidence for IG that he could not comprehend it all. He tells Aoi that she just hit him with a bunch of information that was all new to him. Aoi wonders and asks him if it was the fact that he was her classmate. IG replies that it was that he was the grandson of the chairman of the dakedo company. It was impossible for him to believe to that. He shows her his shabby old house and asks her if she still thinks that the chairman's son and grandson would live in such a place. She smiles and tells him that the retro style of his house was looking perfect. IG asks her if she even know what retro means. Then his father tells IG that what Aoi told was all true. IG asks him to explain it to him. His father tells him that he will explain everything later on. But he tells him that it was fact that he was the blood of dakedo family flowing through his veins. IG still could not believe that him helping her grandmother and him being the grandson of the chairman of the company was a coincidence. It was a bit too much to make her his fiancée for such a reason. Then, with a very cute face, Aoi asks IG if he does not like the idea of him being her husband. IG replies slowly that there was no guy on earth that can deny to get engaged to a girl that he has crush on. Aoi asks him if he really had a crush on her. IG blushes even more and denies it. But Aoi was really glad to hear that and hugs him again. Then IG asks her to let him finish his talk. He tells her that they were just classmates earlier and he never even talked to her that much in the class before. But then now they were going to get engaged all of a sudden. It was hard for IG to take in. Then she replies that it was not strange for her at all, as she would rather be happy with IG, with whom she has never spoken but sees him regularly, rather than the son of a novel to whom she has never even seen in her life. IG tells her that in the end, both him and the novel's son were strangers for her. And he asks her how can she be so sure that she would be happy with him. Aoi replies that the more stranger they were, the better they will get to know each other, and also she reveals that it was not a coincidence to begin with. She just knew that he was better than other boys. IG asks her what does she mean. She asks IG how he actually feel about her, and if he would like to get engaged with her. IG could not resist it anymore and yes slips from his mouth. Aoi was really happy to hear that and tells him that she was looking forward to get along with him as they were fiancé now. IG now certainly believed in fate. The white flower that he gave to a girl a long time ago was none other than Aoi. And now destiny made them meet again in a very peculiar way. Then the next morning when IG gets ready for school and opens his door, he was shocked to see Aoi waiting for him right outside his house. He asks her what was she doing there. She replies that she was there to go to school together with him, as they were engaged now after all. A lot of things happened the previous night after she left. IG was in panic that now he was Aoi's fiancé for real, while his father was considering him very lucky. He tells his father that it was really bad that it happened just because of dumb luck. He then asks him to tell how he was related to the dakedo family. His father was wondering how he should explain it to him. IG then finds it strange when he realizes that he never actually heard anything about his grandparents from his mom's side. He never even heard about them passing away. So now he wonders that they were his grandparents from his mom's side. His father then confirms that it was all true and his mother was the only daughter of the dakedo family. IG asks him then how did she ended up marrying a guy like him. Then his father replies that his wife got kicked out from her family for marrying him. A daughter of a wealthy man and an unsuccessful writer like him were not allowed to pair up in the society. So they had to elope and get married, and after that his wife and IG's mom got kicked out of the family. IG was doubting if his father was telling him the truth. So he tells IG that whatever Aoi told him was all true. But then he wonders if his father-in-law really approved of that engagement. He tells IG that either way, it was a great opportunity for him to marry a beautiful and rich girl, and like that maybe they would be able to remodel their house. IG knew that if they did not approve his father and his mother's relationship, then there was no way that they would approve their one. So he was thinking about properly rejecting Aoi before her family rejects him. He was trying to do that, but it was not easy at all. He would just sound rude no matter how he says it. He was wondering why in the world was someone who never even dated a girl since the day he was born was now in a situation thinking about whether he should break his engagement. Looking at his stressed face, Aoi asks IG if anything was bothering him. IG tells her that he was fine. Aoi leans on his shoulders and tells him that he should let her know if anything was troubling him as now it was her right to know about it since they were engaged. Then the whole school sees IG with Aoi and starts talking and discussing if they were going out. IG gets uncomfortable and tells Aoi that they should maintain some distance as others might misunderstand things. Aoi asks him what was there to misunderstand as they were in a relationship now. IG could not explain her much and gets going ahead. He was now in his class to have his lunch. He had never even thought in his wildest dreams that his dream situation of being chased around by a cute girl would be that exhausting in real life. Then the PE teacher shows up and tells them that it was time to group them into pairs. Aoi was interested to get paired up with IG. The others were thinking that she was pairing up with IG because she was worried that he would end up alone. Aoi shows him a few math problems that she was having some problem with solving them. She tells him that they can go to the private library to discuss about it, but then IG tells her that he would teach her to solve the problem right there, and there was no need to go somewhere else. She was blushing a lot while everyone was looking at him. He had become the center of attention in the class all of a sudden. He solves the problems quickly and shows it to Aoi. The others thinks that Aoi was with him just as he was so good with studies and could help her solving math. IG was feeling bad but was also glad that people were thinking that way. Then it was finally lunchtime. He was planning to retreat to the rooftop after finishing up his lunch. But then suddenly, Aoi comes to him with a big lunchbox and tells him that she has prepared that lunch bento specially for him. IG along with everyone else were shocked. Then IG gets up and tells Aoi that he was glad that she paired up with him earlier and wants to thank her for the favor. So he asks her to come to the rooftop with him for a moment. Aoi was not sure what was he talking about as they were already engaged, but she was getting emotional that he wanted to meet her in private. IG grabs her hand by mistake and freaks out after realizing. Aoi tells him that he does not need to shy so much from her as she was his fiancée now. Then she unpacks the lunchbox, and it was looking very delicious. IG asks Aoi at once if she really made all that alone for him. Aoi replies that she did, as she learned from their resident chef. IG knew that she must have woke up quite early to do that. Considering that, IG tells her thanks for the food and tells her that he will not hold back much. Aoi was very happy to hear that. He looks around what he can possibly start with, as he had never seen many of those food items before. He picks one in the end, and Aoi tells him that it was terrine and was one of her favorite food too. She asks IG if he also likes terrine. IG was hearing the dish name for the very first time in his life. Then Aoi keeps recommending him various stuff one after another. IG could not really understand a single thing that she said, but just knew that everything there was crazy delicious. He was wondering when was the last time someone made him a bento. It was really touching for him as well. IG was still stuffed after that meal. The bento prepared by Aoi was really delicious. He was wondering how she was so good even in cooking. But then he realizes and asks himself why in the world was he now walking home with Aoi. Aoi tells him that she had a lot of fun with him that whole day, and especially when they were having lunch together. She tells him that it has always been her dream to have lunch with him. IG was confused and wonders how could that be possible, as she recently got to know about him. Then he asks her if her home was in the same direction. Aoi replies that it was not. Then IG asks her why was she following him in that case. After hearing her reply, IG was stunned and could not approve of it. He tells her that they cannot spend time alone at home, especially when his father was not there. Aoi tells him that there will be no problem with that, as they were now engaged and thus should spend their after-school time together at home. She tells him that she will just greet his father properly when he gets back home. IG tells her that it was not his point. Then Aoi gets inside the house and gets into his room. His room was covered with his waifus' pics, posters, and action figures. Aoi finds the room very unique and fun. IG goes to the kitchen and makes her some barley tea and tells her that it was all that they had for now. Even that barley tea was brewed a second time from the same barley. But Aoi drinks it happily and tells him that it was easy and light to drink. IG was actually feeling very bad for her. He had no idea what he should do next. There was a girl in his room, and that also Aoi, his crush. But then he realizes that it was the perfect chance for him to tell Aoi everything and break the engagement. Then Aoi comes across an action figure of his waifu and asks IG what was it. IG gives excuse and tells her that it was just some prize that he won a while ago. He feels his honorable that he was denying his hobby because of a girl, and that also of the heroine of one of his favorite light novel. But then he realizes that Aoi might just find him creep and break up with him if she finds out that he was a nerdy otaku. So he starts telling her everything about the figuring and keeping going on and on. Aoi was looking tensed. IG wonders if he became successful in creeping her out, but then she tells him that she really liked it. She assumes that someone of great renown made it for him. He tells her that it was indeed made by one of his favorite person, and he was sad that he usually cannot afford such figurines, but then he fortunately won it in a lottery. Aoi was really happy to hear that. She tells him that the maker of it must be very happy to know that his figurine was in the hand of someone who loves it so much. IG was glad to hear that, but then he suddenly realizes that it was not his point to talk about the figurine, but to break off the engagement. But then he looks at Aoi's expressions, and she was looking tensed. IG now wonders if she was actually disgusted with him this time. She tells him that it was all very good, but one thing was very unfortunate. She tells him that she had no idea that his about preference was fictional characters like Jairus. IG freaks out and tells her that it was not true at all. Aoi tells him that his eyes were really sparkling while he was talking about Jairus. Then IG explains her everything. It was all because of the current trend in the otaku culture. He tells her that the real world was different from the 2D world, and he prefers someone like Aoi in the real world. IG realizes that he was again going the wrong way. He had no clue where he was going with that. Aoi tells him that she was really relieved that he likes her over anyone else. Aoi tells him that she really likes Joris's dress and would like to dress like her. IG was elated to imagine Aoi cosplaying Joris. She asks IG to lend her his light novels on that character. IG tells her that he only has a few volumes of it currently. Aoi replies that she has no problem with that and takes it whatever he had. She tells him that she would like to know as much as possible about him. IG now was thinking that if Aoi reads it all, then they will be now able to discuss about light novels together, which could be fun. He wanted to have someone from Always with whom he could discuss about these things. But then he thinks not to get his hopes hyped too much, as he doubts it that Aoi would actually read them. Aoi then asks him when was his father returning home. IG replies that he had gone out for a part-time job interview, so he might not return anytime soon. Aoi was looking directly at him, which was making him really nervous. Then she comes to IG and leans on his shoulder again. IG freaks out again and asks her what was she doing. Aoi replies that she has always dreamt of spending her time together with him like that. IG was confused again. He asks her what does she mean by that statement, as they did not know each other from the beginning. Aoi comes really close to Aoi and was going to tell him something very important, but then suddenly his father comes home shouting that he had failed the job interview on the spot, so he returned immediately. IG was shocked to see him there all of a sudden. His father tells them that he did not mean to disturb him at a time like that. The Aoi tells him that they should continue their talk some other time. IG was shocked to hear that, as he really wanted to hear what she had to say. After that, all three of them sits together to drink tea and have discussion. IG's father was still feeling bad for interrupting them and spoiling their mood. IG tells him that it was fine as they were not doing anything like that. Aoi tells him that it was true as they can be lovey-dovey any time now after the engagement. IG spits his tea in shock hearing that. His dad also approves that she can use him any time she want. Then IG reminds his father that he was telling something very disturbing a moment ago. His father was trying to recall what it was, and then IG reminds him that it was regarding failing his job interview again. He asks him why he was coming home with a smile even though he failed in the interview. Then his father tells him that he went to a ramen store for the interview that time because he wanted to eat unlimited ramen all the time while working, and they rejected him on the spot as soon as he mentioned that thing to them. IG shouts at him for laughing about it. He asks him what plan he has for their living expenses. His father then replies that he does not need to worry about it as he has already taken care of it. That he pleaded the young manger that he need to hire him or else he won't be able to make it to dinner that night. And after that he gave him some leftover bamboo shoots. IG was relieved to hear that. At least now they would have dinner for that night. Drizzle some mayonnaise on top of it, and it becomes a legendary side dish that pairs super well with white rice. Then his father invites Aoi to join them. IG was hesitating and tells his father not to, as she would never agree to eat something like that with them. But rather Aoi was showing great interest in joining them and eating it. Sa tells him that she would love to try out the legendary side dish. His father was really happy that they even got a partner. He tells Aoi to remember calling home and informing them that she will have dinner in IG's house. Aoi agrees and tells him that she was really excited to try IG's homemade food for the first time. They prepares the dish. IG was worried that Aoi would loathe that kind of low-class food. Aoi prays before eating and then takes a bite. She does not react immediately, but then bursts up telling them that it was awesome from its rich, crunchy texture to its soy sauce. It was a complete 10 for her, she says. IG was really shocked to hear that reaction from her. She tells him that she has never ever eaten something like that before. IG mutters that she would not as it was a cheap meal. IG's father also tells that he also loves IG's cooking. Aoi agrees and wishes that she could eat it every day. IG tells her that she would not prefer that if she was wise. Thus, in the end, IG could not bring forth the topic of breaking up of engagement again. thinking about it, he recalls that Aoi also wanted to tell him something very important at that time. He wonders what tea was. Although he really found Aoi fun that day. He tells her that his dad can be a little bit pushy and overly enthusiastic sometimes. She replies that she did not feel that way but rather found him super fun person. He tells her that he behaves like a kid even in that age. Aoi replies that it just means that he was very true and pure. IG tells her that her father must be really cool and smart considering the big business that he runs. Aoi stops smiling and looks concerned after hearing that. IG asks her what was the matter, but she smiles again and tells him that her dad just always remains really busy. IG tells him that he must be as he was the chairman. Then after walking for a while, they reaches a wall. Aoi stops there and tells IG that it was kind of him to walk her all the way there. IG could not understand and asks her if it was her home. She replies that her home was at the other side of the yard beyond that gate, so she would go alone from there. IG wonders how far does she still need to travel to get to home. Then he remembers that he has to give her the volumes of the light novel, and thus hands over the bag to her. She tells him that she will have a look at it later that night. IG replies her that she should take her time as there were quite some volume which cannot be finished at once, and also the story was very heavy. Aoi tells him that she will see him the next day at the school and gets inside the gate. IG sees the luxurious residence she was living in and realizes that he does not suit someone like her at all. Then the next morning when IG was reading his novels as always in the class, Aoi comes to him and hands him over the bag on light novel back which she took just the previous night to read. IG knew that she would not read it and would return soon. But then Aoi tells him that it was an extremely interesting story. IG was shocked to hear that and asks her if she was telling him that she finished the whole story in a single night. Aoi replies that she did as the writing was easy to read and the pacing was great, and thus, before she could know it, it was finished. She tells him that she was really hooked with the story and could not resist herself from not turning the pages. IG could not believe that Aoi liked the Jaru Next Door novel. She even talks about a specific portion of the story in detail. IG was really excited to hear that and knows that she has actually read it and now starts discussing the story with her. They were talking about it straight while others were wondering what was wrong with them both. And then all of a sudden the bell rings and the class starts. Aoi tells him that she wished that she could talk to him more. IG was also sad about it, but then he asks her if she would like to hang out with his after the school. He tells her that he would love to talk more about light novels with her. Aoi agrees immediately to his request. Then the classes begins and IG was on a different world, thinking about Aoi. It's the first time when he got to discuss about his favorite light novel, and that was also his crush Aoi. It was all very special for him. Then after the classes, they goes to a nearby cafe and their IG apologizes to her for inviting her out so soon. She replies that he does not need to feel sorry as she would be glad to accept an invitation made by him any time. And beside that, she also always wanted to visit that restaurant she says. IG asks her if it was the first time she was coming to a fast food restaurant. Aoi replies that it's her first time indeed. They orders burger and Aoi was really happy after eating a bite. IG was glad that she liked it. She asks IG if he comes there all often. IG tells her that it was not true as his family situation was such that it was a rare occasion for him to be able to come there. Aoi feels bad for him and offers him half of her French fries. She tells him that in excitement she asked for too much and do not think that she can finish it all. IG agrees and tells her that he would try it in that case. Aoi then takes a fry herself and offers to feed IG. IG freaks out and was feeling very awkward. Aoi tells him that he will have to eat from her hand no matter what. In the end, she wins and IG had to open his mouth to eat the fry. She asks him how was it. IG coughs and replies that it was really nice. Aoi was glad to hear that. She then reminds him that Marinasu also made hamburgers in the Jaru next door. IG replies that she did and it sounded very delicious. He tells her that even though it was a rom-com, but still the way the foods were described, It could surpass a gourmet food story easily. Then outside the restaurant was his classmate, Shidru, who sees them together, and was now wondering how in the world did IG pulled off to take Aoi on a date. It was looking like they were having a lot of fun in fact. Then after finishing the food, Aoi gets up to get going and IG was still wondering what shall he do about the engagement. Aoi asks him if they should walk to her home together again. IG tells her that it would be a nice idea. Aoi was happy to hear that. He was thinking about it all the time that there was no way that a poor introverted otaku like him deserves such a beautiful young lady in his life. Although he really was enjoying his time with her. And then Shidru shows up and calls IG. He asks IG what was he doing with Aoi. IG knew that he cannot tell him the truth, so he was wondering what can he tell him that won't complicate things further. He tells him that it was just a coincidence that they were both walking towards home together. Shidru asks him to stop acting dumb as he had also seen them together in the shop as well. IG was shocked that they were seen there as well. He asks him if it was possible that he was stalking Aoi all the time. IG replies that he was not. IG realizes that no one would ever believe that they can date even if they hang out with one another. In that case, IG finds it more suitable to let Shidru believe that. At least that won't cause Aoi any trouble, so he stops defending himself. Shidru believes that he got him good. He lectures IG that there was no way that someone like him would ever date a dull guy like him. He keeps on passing derogatory remarks on IG and IG does nothing but silently listens to it. He already knew everything that he was saying, but for some reason he was feeling a little bad. But the Aoi raises voice and tells him that IG was not dull and lame guy at all. Shidru tells her that she does not need to take stand for such stalkers. Aoi replies that he was not stalking him, and she was the one who wanted to be together with IG. So, she was doing it of her own accord. Shidru could not believe what all he was hearing. He asks them how was that possible at all as IG was no match for her. Aoi tells him that it was her choice and not something for others to decide on her behalf. She tells Shidru that only her own feelings matter to her and not what anyone else think, and then she grabs IG's hand and pulls him to take him away from there. After that, IG was also debating internally. He realizes that from the beginning, he also only thought about what the rest would think about him hanging up with Aoi and whether the society will approve the relation or not, and not even once he thought about his own feeling. Then Aoi asks him to go on a date with her all of a sudden. She tells him that she has decided it since her previous life that she wants to go on a date with him. IG was shocked to hear that and tries to understand what she mean. Aoi asks him if he had any plans for the next day. IG tells her quickly that he does not. He realizes that he was getting swept away again by Aoi's pace. But this was his time to express his true feelings for Aoi. He tells her that he does not really have a plan and would love to go on a date with her the next day. Aoi was very excited to hear that, and she hugs IG and tells him that she would be looking forward to it. Shidru was still there looking all this and was feeling very jealous that they were being so close and that also in the school. Finally, the next day morning, it was a perplexed situation for IG to decide what he should wear on the date. He never even talked much with a girl in his life, and now all of a sudden, he was going out with Aoi on a date. He had a few choices like his prized Jaru t-shirt. HR knew that it was his favorite one, but might not be really appropriate for a date day. His others t-shirts and shirts were looking a bit too lame. In the end, he decides to go the safe way and wear a super plain outfit. A plain t-shirt and Wicha jeans. He was looking really ordinary. Then he sees Aoi in her beautiful dress. She was just looking like a painting. IG was stunned to see her. She tells IG that she was sorry for making him wait for that long. IG tells her that it was not her fault as he came a bit early. Aoi tells him that she was so excited for the date that she could not sleep much the last night. But then looking at IG's expressions, she asks him if something was bothering him. IG replies that it was nothing special. IG was wondering if it was appropriate to go on a date with Aoi. She was looking really pretty in her casual dress, and on the other hand, he was wearing a cheap $5 t-shirt and a jeans that his dad used to wear. He was feeling like everyone there was staring at him. He was getting frustrated, but then Aoi asks him whether they should start their date now. Then IG realizes again that he was thinking too much about what others would think gain and not what he thinks himself. He decided to finally face his true feelings for Aoi. And thus he replies her that they should get going now. Then IG was shocked to know the place that Aoi wanted to visit with him. It was an anime merchandise shop. IG asked her if she was sure about that decision. She replies that she would like to go to the place where IG comes very frequently. Thus, they gets in there and sees a corner which was full of Jaru merch. They starts discussing about it as total nerds. IG was really happy to see merch of light novels as they do not release it usually. But after looking at its price, he was reconsidering purchasing it. Then Aoi takes out her card to get everything on that whole shelf for him. But then IG tells her that he will just buy a badge for then and asks Aoi if she decided what she want. Aoi drops the idea of buying it all and tells him that she would decide the next time they come. Then IG brings her to the burger store again and asks Aoi if it would be okay if they eats burger again for lunch. She replies that she would love to as the hamburgers were really delicious. Then she tells him that she has brought some coupons with her this time and brings out a half-off coupon from her handbag. That made things really easy for IG. Thus, they eats hamburgers again happily and then gets back to the street to walk to their homes. IG was realizing that Aoi was trying her very best to make the date enjoyable for him the whole time by eating and going to cheap places. He knew that if he does not change his ways, then he can never be a suitable partner for her, just like his father was not for his mother. He really wanted to bring some change inside him now. He calls Aoi to stop. Aoi asks him if anything was wrong. He tells her that if she enjoyed her day, then he would love to bring her out again soon. But he wanted to go somewhere else of her choice that time. Aoi replies with a smile that she would really love to. IG had never dated another girl in his whole life and had no idea how Aoi really felt about the day, but he just knew that he had a lot of fun with her that whole day with her. Now he wanted to spend more time with her and wanted to talk to her all day. He wanted to have as much fun as he did and wanted her to smile forever. On the other hand, Shidru was also there, lurking behind the bushes and spying on them the whole time. He really did not like what he witnessed. Then the next day morning, when Aoi and IG comes to school together again, Shidru was waiting for them, and when they arrives he asks IG if he really came to school with Aoi again. IG was quite, but Aoi replies that they did, and they will be doing it all the day from there on. With a nasty grin on his face, Shidru shouts and tells everyone that IG and Aoi were now dating. IG was shocked that he was doing that. He asks Shidru to stop for God's sake. But Shidru tells him that there won't be anything wrong if it was the truth. Aoi tells them that she does not mind that at all and tells Shidru that it really was the truth. Then everyone starts talking about them. Shidru speaks loudly that even though they were dating, they does not suit each other at all. He speaks further that Aoi was from a super rich family, and on the other hand, IG was a gloomy nerdy otaku and was very very poor. He tells further that his house looks like a haunted house and was worn out from all angles. He does not stop there and keeps going and tells everyone that his father was even jobless. Everyone starts laughing and asks him how does he even survive. IG was keeping silence, but he was really pissed inside. He tells them all that his father was not jobless, but was a novelist. He lividly tells them that even though he has not sold many copies of his books yet and has not released anything lately and was utterly hopeless in keeping part-time jobs, but still he played his role very well by raising him as a single parent. So they do not have any right to make fun of him like that. Shidru tells him that how can he be so proud to be the son of a novelist who cannot sell a copy of his book. IG replies that it might seem a little disgraceful, but he really loved that his father was still chasing his dream and was never though of giving up no matter what. His own feeling was what he considered rather than what people will say. So he also feels motivated by his father, and he turns to Aoi and tells everyone that no matter how much out of place they seem together, but the truth would not change. Shidru stops him to say anything further. He tells them that there was no way that he will recognize that the two of them were together. He tells them to remember that always. IG replies that they do not need his approval and recognition for their relationship. Shidru leaves the place lividly. Then everyone around starts clapping and appreciating IG for being so brave. They starts telling IG that he deserves Aoi as he has always been a really kind and helping guy. They starts remembering all the good things that IG did with them throughout the past years. Then Aoi pulls him and asks him to finish what he wanted to say to her. IG's face becomes red after that. Even though he could not tell her about his feelings that day, he learned to accept them by himself. Meanwhile, a junior girl was secretly hearing all that and was calling IG her senpai due to some reason. Then that day during lunchtime, Aoi was discussing with her friends about her relation with IG, and she reveals them that they got engaged recently. They tells her that they were now curious to know more about IG. Aoi tells them that he looks ordinary at first glance, but was actually really special to her. They all starts discussing the various good points about IG, and then Aoi gets annoyed and tells them that they cannot think about IG as he was her fiancé. Meanwhile, IG was walking in the hallway and sees that a girl was carrying a lot of load of books at once. She tumbles and falls down. IG gives her a hand and asks her if she was all right. She holds his hand to get up and slips again, and they both falls, and she was on top of IG. IG asks her to move a bit. The girl apologizes to him and asks him if he was hurt anywhere, calling him senior. IG replies that he was fine. She looks relieved and tells him that she was glad hearing that as he helped her and she fell on him instead. IG tells her that he will help her to carry the stuffs that she was carrying. The girl was hesitating, but IG takes them from her, telling her that it might be dangerous to carry all that by herself alone and fall. The girl replies that he is very kind and have a big heart. IG tells her that it was no big deal as anyone might have helped in that situation. She calls IG by his name and thanks him again after reaching their destination. IG was shocked and asks her how does she knows his name. She grabs IG's hands and tells him that it was the second time he helped her. She tells him that her name was Hoshino Hikari from the first year. Then she leaves, telling him that she will see him around. IG was really confused again and was again trying to recall when did he helped her the first time. The next day morning, when IG was walking to school again with Aoi, he was still wondering about what was his relation with Hikari in the past, as she said she has met him earlier and he helped her. Then he snaps out of it and realizes that he should not think about that while he was with Aoi. He then hears Aoi mumbling something about him being hers only. He asks her what was she talking about, and Aoi freaks out and tells Hai that it was nothing, but just that a lot of people were talking about him and he was getting a lot popular among girls, which was making her really jealous as he was engaged to her. She spills out everything out loud by mistake. IG tells her that she does not need to worry as they must be joking around, but she tells him that they really were finding him attractive now. IG tells her to rest assured, and was about to tell her that he loved her only but then could not. Then Aoi remembers that she has class duty that day, so she need to hurry up, and she leaves running, leaving IG behind. IG was okay with it. As soon as she leaves, Hikari arrives to IG and tells him good morning. IG was calling her by her surname, which she did not like. She asks him to call her by her first name, but IG tells her that he cannot do that so suddenly without knowing her much. She wanted to thank him for the previous day. IG tells her to not worry about it was not such a big deal. Hikari was really glad that IG was so nice to her unconditionally. Then she asks him if he would like to go back to home with her together. IG asks her why should he do that. She grabs him arm and tells him that it was because he was really kid and would not say no to her. Then suddenly a very hard voice comes from behind calling IG. It was Aoi and she was looking pissed. She asks IG who was the girl with him. IG knew that he was doomed. IG tells her that she was a first-year junior and he met her just the other day. But then Hikari tells Aoi that they did not just meet, but has taken their relationship to the next level. Aoi was shocked to hear that. Then Hikari asks IG who was the old hag girl in front of them. Aoi gets angry and asks her who was she calling old. She tells Aoi that she was older than her by 2 years, so she was old for her. She also tells her that the ribbon she was wearing was looking really lame. It was a huge emotional damage for Aoi. She then counters by telling her that she was from the Jogasaki family and she was already engaged with IG. She tells Hikari that she has no idea what relation she has with IG, but a child like her cannot interfere with their personal life. But then Hikari tells Aoi that if their engagement was just a verbal agreement, then it holds no right. She openly tells her that she has fallen in love with IG. She then tells Aoi that her and IG were destined to be with each other. IG and Aoi both were equally shocked to hear that. Aoi asks her what does she even mean by that statement. Hikari calls her old hag again and asks her if she really need to explain it again to her. Aoi tells her not to dare to call her old hag again. IG also tells Hikari that it was really disrespectful. Hikari tells IG that he will listen to him as he really was kind and again hugs him. Aoi grabs IG's hand from the other side and asks Hikari to let him go. Hikari tells her that she has no need to listen to what she has to say. Aoi tells her that she will have to listen as IG was her fiancé. Hikari pulls him that other ways and asks IG if it would prove her love if she manages to take him from Aoi. Aoi replies that she will never ever let that happen. IG was just really confused and did not know what to say. He asks both of them to calm down. Hikari apologizes him for being a bit aggressive and tells him that she cannot resist when it comes to him. Before IG could say anything, she puts her finger on his lips and tells him that she won't let him say anything yet. That in the end she will let him confess his love for her and will not hear anything before that. She looks at Aoi and tells her that she will never lose to a spoiled lady with a sheltered upbringing. Then she tells IG goodbye and finally leaves. Aoi was dead silent. IG tells her sorry for all that and promises that he has nothing to do with it. The next day, Aoi sees IG again with Hikari close to him. Aoi does not say anything and leaves them alone. She was really looking sad. Then the day after that, she hurries to IG's house fast and asks him to walk to school together with her. She was holding his arm tightly that day. IG notices that she was being a bit more aggressive that day. Then suddenly from the bushes, Hikari comes out and surprises IG and asks Aoi what she doing with her love.